Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Dirty Harry. So this is our third and final donation reward movie of our Valentine's movie week, and it is once again from Sweet Venom. Tomorrow's movie will be just a my choice thing. Um, so yeah, Dirty Harry is one of those films that is always surprising to people that I've never seen. It's considered by many to be a great film and one of the most quotable films, considering it has probably one of the most well recognized lines in movie history. So obviously, I know about that. I also know that this is not a Western. Like, I thought it was for so fucking long. Um, and I'm not saying till just recent. I found out it wasn't a Western a while back, but there was a long period of time where I thought it was a Western. And I think it was because of the actor. Um, I, I don't know if he's been in Westerns. I think he probably has. Um, Let me see if I can check. He probably has, but it's like I just kind of always associated with Clint Eastwood with westerns for some reason. Yeah, he was in multiple westerns. Okay, quite a few of them actually. It looks like. Looks like some of the bigger ones are like Cry Macho, Fistful of Dollars, stuff like that. Seems like he had been in a lot though. So that would probably be why. I just like associated him with westerns, so I think that's why I thought this was one. But I realized it's actually a cop movie. Now, I also know that you're not supposed to cheer for the main character in this movie. This is one of those movies that I've heard people talk about when it's like, oh, if you're actually like cheering for or siding with the main character, you misunderstood the movie, kind of thing. Um, it well, people do this with shows too, where it's like, oh, if you like this character, if the main character is someone you sympathize with or like or cheer for, it's like you miss the point. Characters like Walter White from Breaking Bad comes to mind, or I guess a lot of people say Rick from Rick and Morty as well, where it's like the characters are actively bad. They are bad people. You're not supposed to sympathize with them. You're not supposed to like them. Um, the people who do are completely missing the point and might need some help because they're supposed to be the bad guys. I would add Defense Michael, I think was his name, from Falling Down as another example, based on just what we've watched recently. It's like if you're sympathizing with him, if you're feeling bad for him, if you're siding with him, you're entirely missing the point. He's the bad guy, very much so. It doesn't hide that fact. Um, so I know that this is one of those movies. Um, I don't know to what degree. I don't know like how bad the main character, who I assume is named Harry, I don't know how bad he is, but like with that knowledge though, the title actually makes more sense too. Dirty Harry, and I know it's a cop movie, so he's a dirty cop. It's like that's a thing. That actually makes a lot more sense. Now, I don't know the actual plot of this movie at all. I don't know what happens in it outside of the one scene that everybody knows, because of the quote. You feel lucky? Well, do you, punk? See, everyone knows that. Some people know the full thing, the full line a lot more. It's like I've known it at points, but I always forget like the full thing, exactly how it goes. Um, You think I would remember it easier because of the entire sketch on Whose Line, where Ryan did it in the one voice. It, it, he was like imitating an actress, and I can't remember her name. Um, but he was doing the voice. It's one of his more famous voices from Whose Line. Uh, and he was reciting the line from Dirty Harry. Um, but either way, I think it's Carol something. Either way, um, so yeah, that's all I pretty much know about this movie. I don't know who else is in it. I don't even know when this came out. I don't usually look that up, but I'm gonna look that up real quick, just because I was already looking stuff up anyway. 1971. Okay, so 71, pretty early film. I've seen obviously older movies, but and I've seen other films from the 70s too, so it's not that big of a deal, not that concerning or anything. But I'm very interested to see what this is like for a lot of reasons. Um, so, yeah, I don't know what to expect from this, but we're just going to go in and find out. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode, or to the movie. Um, so, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, yeah, I can very much see um, the entire point here. Like, I get it. You know? I get what it's going for, and I also get why he's not, like, a good cop and everything, why he's not the kind of person you aspire to be. Now, he does have legitimate a legitimate sense of justice. He has a legitimate sense of justice, a legitimate sense of right and wrong. He just doesn't give a shit. He cares about saving people. He cares about putting bad guys to give them justice and everything. The problem is he doesn't think justice is due process. He definitely uh, believes that these criminals just deserve death and that they need to be taken care of and that nothing else matters. He doesn't believe in due process. He doesn't believe in how the law works or anything. He goes by his own book, does his own thing, even if it's excessive force, even if it's way too aggro, even if it puts other people in danger. Because his actions very much put the victims and the hostages in danger. It's it's basically like the mayor and the district attorney and everyone had been saying during this movie to him. It's like that's why they were cooperating. That's why they were going ahead with the ransom, because they needed to make sure that these hostages were safe. Yes, it's made pretty clear that he's going to kill people no matter what, but still, like, they were doing the right thing. Harry was not. So this is actually a series of movies, apparently, from what I'm seeing here, which I did not know about at all. Apparently, there are 4 sequels to this. Um, Magnum Force, The Enforcer, Sudden Impact, and The Deadpool, which I think is probably where Deadpool's name might have been gotten from. Um, but yeah, and it went all the way up to 1988, which is when the Deadpool came out. Um, I did not know this was a series of films. I only knew about Dirty Harry. Um, but apparently, in 2012, this film was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry as being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. And yeah, honestly, with how big it is culturally, I can see it. Um, this was also inspired by the real life case of the Zodiac killer, which is referenced in the fact that the killer in this is referred to as Scorpio. Um, Not a zodiac sign, rather oh God, what is it called? A astrological sign? I believe so. I don't think Scorpio. I don't think there's a scorpion on the zodiac, but you know what I mean. Um, but yeah, it's it's a pretty notable film, and it's pretty tense. Like a lot of the film, it's like especially when Scorpio has his victims, it's genuinely tense. And they chose good victims to make you hate the shit out of this guy, to make you really want to see him go down. Like, you have a kid at the beginning, just this young kid. Well, first, this woman who was just swimming in her pool. But then you have the kid, you have a 14-year-old girl, you have a bus full of kids. It's like, yeah, it's like most of his victims, most of the hostages in here have all been children. And it's like that is definitely a way to get viewers invested and get viewers to want to see him taken down. It's a good strategy, and they went ham on it, especially with the 14-year-old girl also like being raped by him and everything. It's like Jesus fuck. Uh, the one thing it didn't do was like show a lot with the victims' families and stuff. Like we only saw the mother of that one kid early on in the film, and only like very briefly, like for 5 seconds max. And it's like that's it. We didn't see the family of the 14-year-old girl at all. We didn't see any of the families of the bus children or the rooftop pool woman. It's like it was just that one mother. I feel like it could have added a little more emotional pull to it if they had shown a little more of the family at any point. But it was clearly wanting to be focused on the chase that Harry was giving to Scorpio. But yeah, like I was saying before, it's very clear that Harry has a very strong sense of justice and very much wants to save these victims. That is undeniable. But the ways he goes about it is what makes him Dirty Harry. It's what makes him a character who you're not supposed to sympathize with, not supposed to side with exactly, and not supposed to, look positively upon. Like, that's missing the entire point. Like, yeah, you want to see Scorpio like face justice for what he's done, of course. But the ways that Harry goes about this is unquestionably wrong. Again, it puts these hostages and victims in danger, and it's just reckless. and dangerous and excessive without question. A lot of the film was slow, if I'm being honest. A lot of it felt very slow. The pacing I feel like could have been either sped up more or just, you know, handled a little better. It just felt like a lot of it was a slog to get through. Like when it really ramped up, it really did ramp up, but there was quite a bit that was a little too slow, in my opinion. Also, the entire rookie partner thing with Gonzalez felt completely pointless. Like it didn't amount to anything. It was literally just, oh, here, you're having a partner for a little while. He doesn't really do much except, messes up the plan, and then he ends up being hospitalized for the rest of the movie. It's like, what was the point of that? Was it just to have the line of dialogue that showed that Harry was also racist? Very casually, too, by the way. It's like it was very casually handled. It's just like I don't understand the point of having him in there. His role amounted to nothing. I don't get it. Um, so I'm kind of wondering though, if at the end he took off his badge, threw it into the river and all, or the water, whatever it was, lake, pond, whatever. He threw it in there, right? And that's presumably him quitting the force and everything, because again, he knew they would probably have his badge anyway for what he did. Even if he saved that bus of kids and everything, like, even if he was successful, it's like still. So if there's four more movies in this, it's like, is he reinstated, or does he just end up becoming like a vigilante or something? I don't know. I genuinely do not know because again, I didn't even know there were more movies in this. I didn't know it was a franchise. Um, but I'm looking at the actors here. Clint Eastwood is the only one I think I know off the top of my head. I didn't recognize anyone else. Scorpio was Andy Robinson, and I was kind of wondering about him. Apparently, he was in Hellraiser. I didn't offhand recognize him, but I have seen Hellraiser. I mean, if I saw it again, I'd probably recognize him in there. It's been a while since I've seen it, to be fair. He's also apparently in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which is. I've seen some of the original Star Trek, and I saw quite a bit of the Picard Star Trek, which I can't think of the name of it right now, but I don't think I ever. I don't think I saw that one at all. My dad did. I know my dad's a big Star Trek fan. Also, this was apparently his first role, which I have to give kudos to him. He did a great job. He played this psychopathic killer extremely well, actually. This was his first ever role, which is wild to think about. Hellraiser was in '87. He was also apparently a police sergeant in Child's Play 3. Okay. And his last movie role was in 2005. He did some television roles starting a year after this movie came out in '72. Apparently, he was in the '78 Incredible Hulk series with Lou Ferrigno. He was in an episode of that. That's interesting. He was in a couple episodes of the A Team, Law and Order, Walker Texas Ranger, Murder She Wrote, X Files. Oh, Apparently, he's still acting even today, or recent years and everything, because he was actually in that Netflix series, Dota, Dragon's Blood, based on the video game Dota 2. Apparently, he was in an episode of that. That's interesting. He's 81 currently, so it's like, he's pretty up there. Just saying. Also, he's a Shakespearean trained actor. That's fun. So I guess that explains why he did so well here. Um, but yeah, I definitely see it as a movie where you're not really supposed to cheer for either side exactly. Like, you want to see Scorpio taken out, but at the same time, not in the way that Harry is handling it. Now, apparently, this is actually not really new information, though, because according to this, the film actually had controversy when it was first released, sparking debate over issues ranging from police brutality to victims' rights and the nature of law enforcement. Which, let's be honest, that was very much made clear in the film. It was very much made clear that Harry was engaging in police brutality, was ignoring victims' rights. Like, all of this was basically said directly. um, so it's wild to me that there are people who have gotten the wrong idea about this film and like seen Harry as like this big hero when it's like that's not how you're supposed to view him. Um, the fact that I've seen multiple times people have had to say it's like this is not a guy you're supposed to idolize, despite the fact that it was pretty fucking obvious in the movie. I feel is wild to me. But apparently, when this first came out, like it faced controversy over those exact things. At the 44th Academy Awards, feminists protested outside of the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, holding up banners with which read messages such as "Dirty Harry is a rotten pig." Why feminists specifically? Like that's oddly specific. Okay. Um, Also, Andy Robinson's portrayal as the Scorpio Killer was so convincing that he received death. I fucking hate it when that happens, when actors receive death threats because they played an evil character. It's like, learn to separate reality from fiction. It's like, just because he played an evil character does not mean he's that character. Like, I'm sure Andy Robinson's a fine person. Like, he might not be. It's possible that he's a piece of shit, but he's not Scorpio. Like that, I hate it when people conflate that kind of thing. Like, I've heard stories of Giancarlo Esposito facing similar situations. Like, there was a story he told in an interview once where he was on a plane, and getting up to go to the bathroom, and there's this woman waiting already, and she like backed up against the wall and was so scared of him, so like after he eventually went to the restroom, she let him go ahead of her. He had to tell her, it's like, it's okay, my name is Giancarlo, I'm not Gus. And it's like, she's like, but you're so scary. And it's like I get it. I've seen a lot of roles where actors have definitely dissolved into their characters and become like frightening. But at the same time, it's like, he's an actor. That doesn't mean he's like that in real life. From everything I've seen, Giancarlo is an absolute sweetheart in real life. From everything I've heard other people say about him, and just what I've seen in interviews, he's like the nicest guy. Um, it's just he's really good at playing bad guys. um, Jay Cox of Time praised Eastwood's performance as Dirty Harry. Sure, yeah, Clint Eastwood's a great actor. It's like, that's not anything new. So it's like, I'm not surprised that he was good in this. And he was good in this. He very much was. Describing him as giving his best performance so far, as of the time when this came out. Tense, tough, full of implicit identification with his character. You're not supposed to identify with his character. That's the point. If you're identifying with his character, there's something wrong. I'm just saying. This is the reason why people have had to say it and point it out. Neil Gabler also praised Eastwood's performance of the film. There's an incredible pleasure in watching Clint Eastwood do what he does, and he does it so well. Just in terms of his acting, I guess, but in terms of like the actions of his character, no. Film critic Roger Ebert gave the film 3 stars out of 4, calling it very effective at the level of a thriller. I guess, but denouncing its moral position as fascist. So he's saying like what Harry did was wrong and came across as fascist. But that's not what the movie is trying to say. That's exactly what the movie is saying. It's not trying to paint Harry as the good guy here. That's very clear. Gene Siskel gave the film a full 4 out of 4 and praised it as one of the great police thrillers of motion picture history. Though he too thought that the film's message was dangerous. Again, though, the message was not that Harry was in the right, that he did what was needed to save lives and everything. It's very clear that he's not a good guy. Neither him nor Scorpio are good people. That's made very clear. Roger Greenspun of the New York Times wrote that what makes Dirty Harry worth watching, no matter how dumb the story is, I don't think it's a dumb story, is Seagal's superb sense of the city, not as a place of moods, but as a theater for action. Kevin Thomas of the LA Times called it a high-style film with lowbrow appeal. A movie after which you may dislike yourself for liking it as much as you do. I guess fair enough. And Stanley Kaufman of the New Republic described Dirty Harry as just disgusting. Nothing else listed here, just disgusting. Since its release, the film's critical reception has grown in stature. Dirty Harry was selected in 2008 by Empire as one of the 500 greatest movies of all time, and it was placed similarly on the Best 1,000 Movies Ever Made list by the New York Times. In January 2010, Total Film included the film on its list of 100 greatest movies. TV Guide and Vanity Fair also included the film on their lists of the 50 best movies. Yeah, I kind of mentioned this. Like, Dirty Harry is seen as one of those greats. And just to go just outside of just everything I've said so far, my general thoughts on it were it was a little too slow at points, but like I said, when it ramped things up, it did ramp things up, and honestly, it's like, it was okay. It was okay. Wasn't anything great, wasn't bad. Like I said, I'm glad that the movie made it clear that Harry was not in the right. Like, it made it very clear multiple times that Harry was not in the right here either. So yeah, I'm happy about that. But yeah, it wasn't anything great. I think that it's very over-exaggerated in terms of its quality. I think a lot of movies are like that, though. Like, The Godfather was definitely another movie that people overhype all the time. Like, The Godfather, it's a good movie, but it's not as good as people say it is. At least in my opinion. This is all subjective, of course. Now, apparently, this film supposedly inspired a real-life crime, the Faraday School kidnapping. In October of '72, soon after the release of the movie in Australia, 2 armed men, one of whom coincidentally had the last name Eastwood, kidnapped a teacher and 6 school children in Victoria. They demanded a $1 million ransom. The state government agreed to pay, but the children managed to escape and the kidnappers were subsequently jailed. So it's good that the children escaped and everything, presumably the teacher as well. But yeah, it's like, if that was inspired by this movie, it's like if real people took inspiration and became like kidnappers and hostage takers and killers, it's like, Jesus fuck. I've heard of other pieces of media, and it's like a lot of people like to blame the media for doing that, but let's be honest, there's other things that are more to blame um, for when people do this. Like, blaming the media is like stupid. There's like it's obnoxiously more people who watch these movies and don't commit these crimes. Like, it's not even close. The idea that violent movies or violent video games or shit cause people to act violently or to enact these crimes is ludicrous. Like, do some people take inspiration from it? Yes, but it's such a minuscule amount, and so people trying to like ban violence in movies or to like cut it down or like it's not going to stop anything. The people who still do these crimes are still going to do them. Frederick Newhall Woods IV was inspired by the film to plan the 1976 Chowchilla kidnapping, in which a bus with 26 school children and its driver were kidnapped and buried in a van. I assume the kids and the driver were buried in a van? In a rock quarry in Livermore, California. The students and driver escaped before the kidnappers could send their ransom demand. Okay. Well, that's good that they escaped as well. In September of '81, a case occurred in Germany under circumstances quite similar to the Barbara Mackel kidnapping. A 10-year-old girl, Ursula Herrmann, was buried alive in a box fitted with ventilation. Okay. Lighting and sanitary systems to be held for ransom. The girl suffocated in her prison within 48 hours of her abduction because autumn leaves had clogged up the ventilation duct. 27 years later, a couple was arrested and tried for kidnapping and murder on circumstantial evidence. The case was also dealt with in a German TV series. So that's a case where, unfortunately, the victim did die. And Jesus. And the last thing I'll touch on here is the influence of this film. Eastwood's iconic portrayal of the blunt, cynical, unorthodox detective who is seemingly in perpetual trouble with his incompetent bosses. His bosses weren't incompetent, though. He was the incompetent one, if anyone. His bosses were extremely competent. What? Anyway, set the style for a number of his later roles and a genre of loose cannon cop films. So this is where the entire loose cannon cop thing came from. This is like actually where it started. Or at least, became big. The film was released at a time when there were frequent reports of local and federal police committing offenses and overstepping their authority by entrapment and obstruction of justice. Okay, so this was based on like real life situations of people doing this. Author Patrick McGilligan argued that America needed a hero, a winner at a time when the authorities were losing the battle against crime. Okay. In 2007, the film Zodiac, also set in San Francisco and inspired by the Zodiac killer, or in that movie, Dirty Harry is shown. Okay. Okay. And so they reference how Dirty Harry is inspired by the Zodiac killings in that. Also, apparently, the movie popularized the Smith & Wesson Model 29 revolver, chambered for the powerful .44 Magnum cartridge, and initiated an increase in sales for the handgun. Well, that's not good. I'm not surprised, but it's not good. And Dirty Harry's famous line, you gotta ask yourself one question: do I feel lucky? Well, do ya, punk? Is often misquoted slightly, yeah. So people say, do you feel lucky? Well, do you, punk? I said that at the beginning of the pre-thoughts, I believe. and popularly used in a humorous and boastful manner as saying, yeah, do you feel lucky, punk? Yeah, people for sure do that. Also, like, there's other things that were based on the movie and stuff. There's a song by Gorillaz called Dirty Harry, for example. Um, but yeah, so that's generally my thoughts on this. Um, Harry is not meant to be seen as a good guy. He's just as much of a bad guy. Well, maybe not just as much, but he's also a bad guy, just like Scorpio. Just different kind of bad guy, different kind of crimes, different wrongdoings. He's not supposed to be idolized. He's not supposed to be looked upon as inspirational or likable or whatnot. He's he's a bad guy as well. The movie itself was okay. It was just like it was okay. Wasn't good. Wasn't that great. Wasn't bad. Just okay. Um, it was too slow in certain parts. Um, there were some parts, some things that seemed a little unnecessary. Like honestly, they're like the parts about Harry being a peeping Tom was like, was that necessary? It's like, yeah, we get it. He's a piece of shit. Let's be honest, but we didn't need that to show us that. There were so many other pieces of evidence. It just felt like just another random thing that was stacked in. Um, yeah, it's just an odd choice, I feel. And yeah, it's just like it could have been better, but it also could have been a lot worse. Um, but that leads us into what our final movie will be tomorrow. Tomorrow will be our final movie of Valentine's Week, and after that, we just kind of go back into our normal schedule. Well, unscheduled format, but still our normal regular programming. So next week we will, or next tomorrow, we will continue and finish off our week with another movie that is just my choice. Rather than a donation reward, we're ending off the week just like we started with a movie that I just want to react to. And that is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. This movie is exceptionally acclaimed. Um, I know very little about it, but I do know that it has helped reignite the career of the actor who played Short Round in Indiana Jones, and had left the business for a long time. It's helped reignite his career, and he's gotten so much praise and just love from audiences, and that's just super wholesome, and I can get behind that. Um, but yeah, so Everything Everywhere All at Once will be tomorrow, and that will end off our Valentine's week. In the meantime, let me know what you thought of Dirty Harry down in the comments below. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.